Hey guys, and welcome to another Bukkit teacher tutorial. This is going to be the advanced setup of PermissionsEx. I'm going to show you how to use color codes, minus signs. You'll understand that once I start talking about it, and multi-world permissions, so you can change permissions based on what world they're in and what they can do in each world and what they cannot do in each world. So, I guess we should get started. So go ahead and open your server folder and double click plugins, double click PermissionsEx, and open your permissions file. And again, I'm using Notepad++, and I would suggest using it as well. Alright. So I haven't edited anything since the last tutorial, so if you haven't either, it should still look like this. And I'm just going to continue off of this one. So we're going to start with minus signs. So we're going to create another rank for this. It'll help you understand it better. So we're going to add, let me think. Let's add mod, and this will be your moderators on your server. And I'm going to go ahead and copy the VIP stuff and paste it under mod. And we're going to change the prefix like we did the others to mod. And we're going to have to change this to, you leave the rank at 200 and then go back and change VIP to 200. And then change member to 300 and change guest to 400. That way they can be evenly spaced. Now, change the mod inheritance to VIP. So that way it inherits everything VIP and lower. Now, for minus signs. Okay. Say you want to give a mod all modify world permissions, but you just want to leave out one or two permissions, but you don't want to go through and add every single permission because it'll be a lot of typing and etc. So we're going to give mods all the modify world permissions. Modify world dot star. And I taught you the star in the last tutorial. That means it gives them all the commands and abilities of modified world plugin. Alright, now say create a new permission node. We're going to want to subtract a permission from them. Let me think of a permission that we could use. Alright, we'll do this. Let's say we don't want to allow mods to use beds. It's not a very good example, but best one I can think of right now. So say you want to let mods do everything else in Modify World, but you don't want them to use beds. So what you're going to do is put a minus sign right there. And that means it is subtracting that permission from all the other Modify World permissions. So now we're going to go ahead and type the permission node, modify world dot use beds. Use bed, I think. I can't remember if it has an S or not, but this is just for example. So again, this permission node allows them to use every single permission and ability in modify world. And this permission node doesn't subtracts the use bed ability from mods. Since they have everything, they just subtract this, so they can't use it. So it's an easy way of, instead of listing all the permission nodes that you want them to have, you can just subtract if you only have one or two, and it'll save you a lot of typing this way. So it's just a handy feature that comes with PermissionsEx that you can use to keep your PermissionsEx file easy and clean. Now, what I'm going to show you is multi-world permissions. We're going to go ahead and add it to VIPs. Yeah, VIPs. So, what multi-world permissions is, which I already explained this a little bit, it allows different permissions in different worlds. Say, let me think. You can allow VIPs place water in a member's world, but place lava in a VIP's world. Basically, that's what it allows you to do, and you can configure these however you want. Alright, so we're going to add multi-world permissions to VIP. So to do this, we're going to have to add a new label. And this label is called Worlds. And what this does, I already told you what it does, or what's it do. And you want to space over a little bit, right here. And now, under Worlds, you want to put your world name that you want to add permissions to. So, the default world is just called World, so we're just going to leave it at World. And let's add another world. Let's do VIP world. Oh, it's red, so that means we have tabs. We have to go over here. VIP world. So these are two worlds right here. We got a world and VIP world. And what we're going to do is configure what permissions they have under these two worlds. But before we can do that, we need to add the permissions label under the world names. So permissions, and we got to add permissions under the VIP world as well. Permissions. And now it's just like the other permissions label above. You can add more permission nodes. Alright. So we got this set up. We got now we just need to add permission nodes to each world. So in VIP world, we are going to, actually in just the normal world, we're going to let them modify world dot bucket dot empty dot water. What this will do, it allows them to empty a bucket of water in the normal world, but they cannot empty a bucket of lava in the normal world. So let's go down to VIP world, modify world dot bucket dot empty lava. Now what this does, it allows them to empty a bucket of lava in the VIP world, but not in the world. World. I should have named that. Let's name this something else. Let's name it Overworld, so we don't get confused. So this allows them to empty a lava bucket in the VIP world, but not in the overworld. In the overworld, they can only empty a bucket of water. So this is what basically all multi-world, and this is how you set up multi-world permissions. So you can go ahead and add more permissions, allow them to do other stuff in the overworld. Let's modify world dot sprint. So now they can only sprint in the overworld, but not in the VIP world. And so say you have like a creative world and a survivor world, so you can let them spawn items in the creative world but not in the VIP world. And that's what the good thing about the multi-world permissions, and it's very easy to set up. And like other permissions, they generate a new file for each world. Like you would have a world nether.yml, overworld.yml, otherworld.yml, and then you have to maintain all three of those files. Instead, you can just maintain one file and add multi-world permissions right in here. So that's about it for multi-world permissions. The last thing I'm going to show you is color codes. I know some of you guys probably don't like just having a white prefix, and I don't either. I usually add color codes to my ranks as well. So color codes are very handy, so you can easily identify the difference between ranks. So to add a color code, simply add every color code begins with an and sign. So, and there's here, let me go down here, or let's start up here. I'm just gonna type this out for you so you guys can see this. So and 0 and 1 I'm trying to do this fast. And 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. And then they go and A and B and C all the way up to K. So there's A, B, C, D, E, and F, and then K. But I don't want to type all those out right now. So these, you have all these to choose from, and they're all different colors. And to know what color they are, go to minecraftwiki.com and search color codes. And this is what pops up. Here's all the color codes. So these are all the colors that correspond to the and numbers. So you can see you got and 0, and 1, and 2, and 3, all the way to and 9. And then they start going to and B, and A, and all those. So let's go ahead and add some colors to our permission, or our prefixes. So to guest, we're going to want a boring color because they're just guessed, alright? So let's do gray. Alright, so this means if you put the and, anything after the and 8, that will make it gray. So this entire thing, guessed, plus this bracket will be gray. So this bracket right here will be white, and then the guest name will be gray, and so with this bracket. So you don't want that. So you want this other bracket white, so you can, so it matches with the other bracket. To do this, you just put and F. So now, and so once it hits the and F, the gray stops and the white continues on to the gray. Or I mean to the bracket. So now you got a white bracket, gray name, white bracket. And if you want the entire prefix gray, you can go outside the bracket and put and 8. Now this entire prefix will be gray. But for what I want to do, I'm going to put and 8, and then I'm going to put and F. And now that'll add a gray color to your prefix. And let's go down to member and add a color to them. Let's add blue. So that is and 9. And so we don't want the bracket blue. I'm going to put and F. And now you got blue member's name. Now let's go down to VIP, and I'm going to add gold because they're special, you know. So and F. Alright, so you can continue on and add colors to each user, but for time purposes I'm just going to add those, and we're going to have to go back in our plugins folder, and then we're going to have to double click Chat Manager and open the config file. and enable this. Where the enable label was, you need to set that to true so it can work properly. So save that. Now, one thing else I want to go over. Let's head back into Chat Manager and open the config file. Since this is part of PermissionsEx, I should probably go over it. So this is a config file for permissions for Chat Manager. Now, I'll go over these. Chat Manager or Chat Range. This means if you have ranged mode enabled. So what ranged mode means is that you can only see the people typing in this amount of range. So this probably means 100 block radius. So anywhere from 100 blocks you can see people typing. If they're not within the 100 blocks, you cannot see the people typing and see their messages. So it's more realistic for survival. If you want to go ahead and enable that, you can. And now this is you can configure this however you would like. This is what order the prefix and suffix and player order go. So you can go ahead and swap these around if you want. So you can add like prefix and then suffix if you want. So you can have prefix and then suffix and then the player name and then the message. You can swap these around, or you can just remove them altogether so you don't ever have a suffix. That's what I do on my server because I don't ever use a suffix. So that's about it. And and if you change the global message format, you're going to want to change the message format as well. Otherwise it will not work. Oh, and this is you can change the color of the message. And E means yellow. So your message would show up yellow if you kept it like this. Ours didn't because it's just based off the message format. So you can go ahead and modify that however you want. That's about it for the Chat Manager config file. Let's exit out of that. Modify world. Let's go ahead and open that config and take a look at it. So this, you want to enable this, most likely. We used it in our config file. So if you want it to work, you're going to have to enable it. Item restrictions, you can check that out on the PermissionsEx wiki. This basically allows what they can have in their inventory. So if you enable this true, you can configure what blocks are allowed in their inventory. And then inform players, and if you enable this, it'll tell them you do not have permission to hold this item and that type of stuff. And it'll say like you do not have permission to build in this territory. And so you can go ahead and and you can configure the messages right here. So if you have a whitelist, you can modify world does have a whitelist also. So you can go ahead and enable that too. So that's about it for the modify world.config or config. I can't talk tonight, so sorry about that. So that's it for the config file of modify world. Don't want to save that. You can edit as you like. So that's about it for this advanced tutorial. I hope you guys now know how to set up PermissionsEx. All right. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.